Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Wow, what a crazy time. Looks like we're getting close to maybe the midpoint of the coronavirus. It's amazing how something can affect the whole planet. It is interesting, though, we're coming to you every week to look at the different things that point to the coming of the Lord, and so many signs have taken place. Remember, the rapture is signless, but the second coming has tons of signs. So it is interesting in Matthew, the Bible says that the second coming will be like the days of Noah. So even after 7 years of tribulation, people are still trying to date and still trying to marry. So things are going to get back to normal. So think of how crazy it's going to be the day after the rapture. In Matthew 24, there are one's taken and one's left. That's not the rapture, that's the second coming. So look, 50% of the population will have gotten saved during the tribulation. So thank God, all those signs and all that pressure will turn people to the Lord. Obviously, some people will be haughty and won't, but wow, what an amazing percentage. And I don't get into all this, but in Luke 21, Jesus said, pray that you might be accounted worthy to escape all these things and stand before the Son of Man. I don't have to pray to be accounted worthy. I am worthy. I'm Him. Remember, like the 10 virgins, do you need oil in your lamp? Would Jesus need oil in His lamp? No. In this dispensation, you're Him. Those verses in the Gospels are all talking to Jewish boys that are not born again yet, and Jesus is having to fulfill the law. So let's pick up what's happened around Israel. Finally, some things came through for the Prime Minister. It looks like a government has formed, Netanyahu and Gantz. It looks like Netanyahu is going to be the Prime Minister for another 18 months. Midway through, after 18 months, he'll turn over to Gantz. Gantz got elected the Speaker of the Parliament, so it's a crazy time for Israel. In the middle of all this going on with the coronavirus, you had Palestinians, you had Hamas fire rockets at Israel a couple days ago. It made the Israelis have to go down into their bomb shelters, and of course that spreads the virus even more. So in the midst of this, you still got Palestinians trying to kill Israelis. In the middle of that, you have several Democratic senators from America, from our Congress, pressure Pompeo, our Secretary of State, to send $75 million to Hamas. So it's just insane. We already give the Palestinians $800 million a year. The EU gives them $600 million a year. And do they build roads? Do they build hotels? No, they get rockets to fire at Israel. So it's just absolutely amazing. Many more things keep happening, though. A couple days ago, Israel took some jets into Syria and bombed Homs. What did they bomb? They bombed Iranian targets and Syrian targets of missiles that were being hauled down from Iran. In the midst of this virus, they're still hauling missiles down in from Iran into Syria to try to fire at Israel. Just absolutely amazing how that Israel has to keep protecting itself against what's happening. Things came out this week talking about how Iran has been fudging with their numbers on the coronavirus, but in the middle of that, they're continuing their nuclear program. So I'm really not surprised to see in the days ahead real shortly, Israel's going to have to do a preemptive strike there. So many things keep happening with that and with Turkey. Remember how Turkey's always a major player in pulling Russia, I believe, down at the Ezekiel 38 war. So Erdogan from Turkey started taking over churches this last week and turning them into mosques. I mean, it's such a crazy time. You had Islamic clergymen voted and said that they believe that Israel is responsible for the coronavirus so that they can't go to Mecca. Listen how crazy that is. Even crazier, the New York Times said evangelicals are what caused the coronavirus, Christians. So man, I used to think that people are going to be surprised when the raptures happen, but they're probably going to rejoice when the rapture happens. But you've got so many things that have happened around Israel right now pointing to the coming of the Lord. Water showing up in the ritual baths around the Temple Mount. Foxes showing up on the Temple Mount. I mean, you got tangible things. You got them ready to have sacrifices there on the edge of the temple. Remember last year they were able to. The year before that they were arrested. So many things keep happening that point to His return. Jesus told us when all these things are happening, lift up your heads. Your redemption is drawing nigh, indicating you could be downtrodden. So the whole purpose on all this information about the coming of the Lord is for you to be happy and hopeful. Your strength will be tied to your joy. So it'd be just like when Colleen and I got married. It would be kind of a bummer if she's walking down the aisle, oh my God, I'm about to marry him. No, He wants you excited. He wants you expectant. Paul's writings to the church at Thessalonica were to bring them great joy. They're not in the tribulation because the church has to depart. You have so much authority, Jesus has to take the church off the earth so that the Antichrist can even be revealed. Amazing. Let's pick up on what's happened, though, around Israel with all the things that are going on and the signs. You've got Israel made a nation, 1948. Jerusalem went back in 1967. You have the Hebrew language restored. You've got the Ethiopian Jews brought back. You've got the fertility of the land of Israel. You got the revival of the Roman Empire. I know I go fast, but there's so many signs to cover. I mean, you have 172 different species of predatory birds that started showing up in Israel. And this Israeli ornithologist, it's a bird specialist, she said, we don't understand it. Well, we understand it. Jesus is about to come back. Remember, after the Ezekiel 38 war, God calls on the fowl of the air to come clean the land up. 7 years later at the Battle of Armageddon, he calls on the fowl of the air to come clean the land up again. So you've got birds in position. You got fish showing up in the Dead Sea. Ezekiel prophesied that thousands of years ago, and it happened this last year. So you have tangible, physical evidence to point to the King coming back. After all these other signs, you got men will be lovers themselves. We have selfie sticks. That's pretty radical. And the signs that are happening are to show us how close we are. They're not to scare us. They're to make us aware. As you see the finish line, you run faster, not slower. I had a guy say, well, Joe, if you preach on the coming of the Lord, just get everybody's hopes up. Duh, that's exactly right. The rapture is to be the hope that purifies us even as we're pure. There's a lot of weird teaching right now. There's not going to be a rapture. But listen, Enoch was raptured. Elijah was raptured. Enoch handed off to Noah. Elijah handed off to Elisha. Jesus handed off to the church. The church is going to hand off to the Jews. We have this tendency to think that it's all on the church age. It's actually not. God's going to raise up 144,000 Jewish evangelists. And we talked about it earlier. Half the population of the earth is going to get saved during that tribulation. So we're seeing the setup, though, for all of these things. You had the Palestinians even do an exercise in Jerusalem on the eastern part, where they have basically trying to block the Palestinians from coming into Jerusalem because of the coronavirus. So you have so much going on; it's hard to even keep up with in the midst of this virus. So thank God we have dominion. Thank God we have authority and don't have to worry about it. But let's talk about the signals. This one we get into. Don't shoot the messenger, but listen to the signals. I mean, we know we had blood red moons on Passover and Tabernacles. That's so radical. 4 in a row. The NASA called that a tetrad. When's the last time you had 4 in a row? 1967 when Jerusalem was won back, 1948 when Israel was made a nation, and 1492 with the Edict of Expulsion when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. Then you had the Bethlehem Star last year, first time in 2,000 years. This is one of the signals I don't get a chance to talk about, but in the midst of this virus I should. President Trump, midway through his presidency in January 21st, 2 years ago, I was preaching in Alabama, there was a blood moon, wolf moon, super moon on his midterm. That when Trump was born, the year he was born, this is crazy. The year he was born, there was a blood red moon. 700 days later, Israel was made a nation. When Trump was elected, Benjamin Netanyahu had been in office 7 years, 7 months, 7 days. When Trump was inaugurated, he was 70 years old, 7 months, 7 days. Moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem after 70 years. Now, this is the crazy thing. We know the rapture is going to be on Feast of Trumpets. There's about 20 different reasons where you can tell where the rapture is going to be on that time. It's a 3-day period, Feast of Trumpets. That's why Jesus said of that day and that hour, no man knows. The Feast of Trumpets is after the 7th new moon of the year, and it's on a 3-day period. You don't know exactly when that, it's the 29.5th day of the month, so the Sanhedrin would send 2 witnesses out to see when the new moon was. So it's a 3-day period called the Feast of Trumpets. So there's so much more evidence about that we were never taught as Christians, but now there's so much revelation about it. It's amazing. But Trump's name means Trump, and then Vice President Pence. When you say the president and the vice president, you're saying the coming of the Lord. Trump, Pence, trumpets. That's crazy to have the president of the United States and his vice president's name mean the coming of the Lord. Well, we're blessed. We're privileged. I don't need all these signs. I have a witness in my spirit. Jesus is about to come back. But what an opportunity for us to show people Jesus. Let's show them that we are fearless. Let's show them that greater is He that's in us than He is in this world. Let's show them that we have a dominion from on high. The extravagance of God letting us be born of Him. He's residing on the inside of you. Remember, God likes mobile thrones. You're a mobile home. So we're blessed to see how close we are. People are freaking out thinking the rapture is going to happen next week. I think we have a little bit more time, but not a lot. This is a wonderful wake-up call for everyone to do the will of God. What do? Help our local church, help our local pastor, stay fed. Man, you have so much on YouTube. You can feed on the Word and stay strengthened and stay fed, because greater is He that's in you than he that's in this world. The vision that we have of what we have on the inside of us is when Jesus, at the Mount of Transfiguration, that presence began to radiate through His hair, radiate through His skin. That's what you carry with you everywhere you go. So sickness and disease can't touch you because of the life of God so strong in you. Well, have a blessed week. We'll come back and see what's happening with Israel this next week. So much is going on. Exciting times. Have a blessed, awesome week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the EDU at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.